All right, so yesterday we were going over things with prologue and talking, about grandfather advice and all that kind of stuff, and then that's when people were going, oh, I put the wrong name on the quiz. She did a pretty solid job.
I really want to do this for this one.
I think you need to stop there.
Yeah.
Anything else
Polls are hard.
it's just going to ruin it.
Yeah.
I think you should submit as is.
Okay.
Art show, Art's Alive. So first week of February. The one we started talking about briefcase and whatnot that he gets after the battle royale, but we never really kind of got in a whole lot of detail about the battle royale. And I know yesterday we kind of had questions going along the lines of essentially why, like why have it? What's the purpose? What's kind of going on with it? And I'd say you have two. More so one than the other, but there's really kind of two interpretations with it. There's going to be the literal, but then there's also going to be the figurative. Anyone have any suggestions for either of those as to like why, whole purpose of that chapter, whether it be the literal or the figurative? For like the winner of the fight getting them, yeah, it could be. The only part from Tim's perspective, the narrator's perspective, Morgan's not happy about the name Tim.
I found out what it means.
It means Tim.
The invisible man.
Don't ruin it.
Oh.
We could have had her going for like 4 weeks wondering about it.
You're welcome. I was really confused.
There you go. Grace just had that moment of epiphany though. It was like or she wants MC named earlier. 4. Yes. So the whole purpose of him showing up to the event as a whole is to simply give his graduation speech. So, if you're 17, 18-year-old, African American male, your audience is all pretty much the white leaders in town. So you're taking a look at there's ministers, there's school superintendents, lawyers and whatever, affluent, rich, wealthy people. How are you going to show up dressed? Yeah, you're going to be looking the part. And so the whole idea of the boxing match has no ration, for him. Now the other folks there who are going to be taking part of it, yeah, probably money is part of it. But for Tim, the whole idea for like simply getting the money in itself isn't going to be it. I would say in some ways the literal, and the literal is probably more of a pretty small percentage, as opposed to what Ellison's doing it. Why can you do it? Well, pretty much because they, being the affluent whites, can. What are you doing? What are you forcing him to do before giving his speech? Humiliate himself, embarrass himself, basically kind of strip away any kind of dignity. So in a lot of ways, there's going to be the, kind of humble himself before he gets to speak. If you want to do this, fine, but you got to go through this first. We kind of call something for that, though. We have a term, a phrase that we'll kind of use where you get the ability to do something, but you kind of have to go through this first. And sometimes it can be positive, sometimes it can be negatives with it. But we kind of go with like a 3-word phrase. Yeah. What'd you say? No, just saying stuff. She draws things and you just say things. Yeah. I do it all the time. R of P. Rite of passage. So it's kind of a rite of passage moment for him that he has to kind of go through all of this stuff. Now, what makes the boxing match more difficult? And certainly this is where that figurative element starts to come in. Yeah, so he's certainly at a competitive disadvantage, for, hey, Johnny, why don't you come and tell us about your poem? But first, you have to fight everyone here. Cause going to go crazy on you. Why So that's going to be one. But what's the part that's kind of like the equalizer even for that? It's really going to make it difficult. We got to take Libby's hoodie. What do we have to do with it?
Oh my god.
What kind of blindfold? Well, yeah, but what's the color? It's a white blindfold. What's the name of our book? Invisible Man. What's the complaint? That people don't see him, and in some ways, what happens to him? He is getting blinded. If there is description of the statue at the college where you're not sure the way it's being held, is that veil being lifted, or is that veil being lowered? We know that Bledsoe is someone who is trying to accumulate power. So what does he do to people who might see things the way that they actually are? You try to put the veil over and kind of blind him. So yeah, part of it is that he can't be viewed the way that he wants, but he's also somewhat kind of blind to everything. And certainly you have a white blindfold, you have a white audience, so you have that white blinding effect that's kind of starting to take place. But it's okay, because you get a briefcase and you get a scholarship. So it's all worth it. Full ride to Carnegie Mellon, but you gotta let us beat you up first, Johnny. There's a lot. There's not a whole lot of thinking that's taking place for a lot of people right now. And Emily, like, you know, you're not even really thinking college all the way for post high school, but if it's a free ride, I'm going to do it. So he certainly goes through the fight, this rite of passage, this embarrassment that's going to take place. As got mentioned later, then we have our token prostitute, because we have to have one in every single novel. What's the speech? What's the graduation speech? Well, he made a mistake, but yeah. But what's the actual speech? Oh, this is what an alarm had to be going off in your head. Yeah, which one?
Oh yeah.
He goes cast down your bucket. Yeah. Oh, Mr. Kane actually had a plan when he gave me that speech. Why is that the right speech? And not like in the sense of you plagiarized the right person or anything like that. I mean from like an Ellison standpoint. Why is that the right speech for this situation? Besides the fact that he's going to Tuskegee Institute, or at least, you know, something that is meant to closely resemble it. I missed the second thing that you said. Okay, so like the white audience for both of them, an affluent white audience for both of them, absolutely. What else? Well, that's a good detail. What's W.E.B. Du Bois' main complaint about that speech, or about that agreement? It's too much of a compromise. It's a compromise, and really it is an example of submission. We're going to beat you up, but you can go to school. Okay. So then when he goes to give his speech, you know, physically, what's going to be difficult about giving the speech, besides just being tired after, you know, going through this whole boxing match? He's being blot out and all this kind of stuff. So he makes the mistake, which you guys were jumping on, where within the speech, there is the line about social responsibility, but he makes the mistake, and instead of responsibility, inserts the word equality. And it's not something that he is purposely doing. It just, you know, kind of comes out wrong. And they're not paying attention to him speaking, but then when he says social equality, you can hear the pin drop. Now, he's spitting out blood. and all this kind of stuff. So he has to kind of clear his throat before he switches it back to social responsibility. He doesn't spit the blood out, but he actually does the opposite and swallows it. And he even says, after this whole thing, at that point, he has no, begins with a D, has no dignity. He swallows his own blood, he has to swallow his words, he has to kind of swallow his dignity while he's up there speaking, and then kind of go, oops, yep, sorry, didn't mean equality, meant responsibility. But it's all worth it because I got this briefcase in the end, yay, in my whole scholarship. So that whole, I'm going to be submissive, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to because that's what the old white men are telling me to do, just like he does with Norton then 3 years later when he's a junior in high school. That kind of element is getting introduced here within that battle royale. So it's kind of like a rite of passage. And if you want to go anywhere, you got to be able to kind of go through this stuff. So, compared to that guy that we had here, stealing the electricity, stealing power, where he's kind of becoming similar to Bledsoe, you certainly have a stark contrast to the guy here who was involved with that whole kind of battle royale. So the main thing I would say, with that figurative element is going to be, this is essentially, oops, didn't want to do that, spray painting. Ah! There we go. Where's my highlighter? There it is. So that main thing that we have here with the figurative is going to be this whole kind of setting the stage. And even, all throughout when he's getting yelled at by Bledsoe even makes comments to him about, you're pretty good at punching and jabbing and whatnot. So this kind of violence, this boxing motif is going to continue to show itself. We didn't talk about this yesterday. You don't remember what he says about history in the prologue? There's like a shape that goes with history. History tends to be spiral, it boomerangs. It keeps kind of coming back. So one of the things that is going to happen, boxing, giving a speech, True Blood, getting paid money by Norton, a lot of this stuff kind of continues to happen over and over again. And really, what's it's not $100 bill, but what is he doing for giving his speech, for telling his story? He's getting rewarded. He's kind of getting paid. He's getting beat up. He has blood, coming down his face. When True Blood's telling his story, he still has the wound that's kind of fresh there. So Tim certainly doesn't realize it, but there's certainly some similarities that are going on between him and True Blood, even at that time. Blood, True Blood. What will Bledsoe do? He has no problem beating you up and doing whatever to try to kind of take charge of the place. Anything else with Battle Royale? I'd say that'd be the main thing. You get that rite of passage, you get that violent kind of motif going along with it. You recognize some of that alignment that happens with Booker T. Washington, and then getting, reaffirmed with that statue, that puts you in pretty good shape. We talked about True Blood yesterday. I know Golden Day there were a lot of questions for, understandably so. Anything else about the True Blood scenario that we did not go over? I don't think we mentioned this, but fourth period was kind of asking about it. Did we talk about Norton's daughter? Did. Morgan just has everything. She shows up like right before class, finishes a quiz in 2 minutes, throws out Tim. This is Norton talking to Tim before meeting True Blood, all that kind of stuff. There is another reason, more important, more passionate, yes, even more sacred than all others. He said, no longer seeming to see me, but speaking to himself alone. Yes, even more sacred than all others, a girl, my daughter. She was a being more rare, more beautiful, pure, more perfect, and more delicate than the wildest dream of a poet. I could never believe her to be my own flesh and blood. Her beauty was a wellspring of purest water of life, and to look upon her was to drink and drink and drink again. She was rare, a perfect creation, a work of purest art, a delicate flower that bloomed in the liquid light of the moon, a nature not of this world, a personality like that of some biblical maiden, gracious and queenly. I found it difficult to believe her my own. I've been to a lot of parent-teacher meetings, AIEPs, and all that kind of stuff. I've never heard a parent just mom's just like, yeah, it's Morgan. Well, and the question, fourth period was pretty blunt about it. Does Norton have feelings for his own daughter beyond that of, a parent-daughter? And, you don't know for sure, but it certainly kind of seems that he views her differently. And then when you get to his whole fascination or interest with the conversation that's going on with True Blood, it does kind of start to align, seem that it could be aligning in that way. What it does is just like saying that maybe Tim's not all that different from True Blood, there could be a lot of ways in which maybe Norton is not all that different from True Blood. And maybe part of that physical illness that he feels is not just the shock of the story, but almost kind of like a subconscious kind of shock realization that maybe he's not all that different from him, which as a rich, wealthy philanthropist trustee versus a poor sharecropper in the South, you would expect there not to be a whole lot of similarities taking place. But that could be maybe one kind of aspect with it. Golden Day. Morgan, do you have Golden Day all figured out? No? Shucks. I was hoping you could explain it to me. What are the pieces? What are the elements that we have in the Golden Day? We know that we got Norton and Tim. Pardon? Okay, so we got Hallie the bartender. We have one of the greatest names in literature, Supercargo, the attendant. And who does he attend to? The vets, who are in the asylum, and one of those vets also kind of being the doctor who is there, all right? And the girls, they're there as well. If any of you name your child Supercargo, I will go back and change your grade in your high school transcripts, and maybe you'll get into CMU for free after we kind of switch that, because what a beautiful name.
Oh my god.
Because that name's awesome.
Why?
Supercargo Mellier.
Why
Supercargo
do you
Porsche.
like it?
Because it's Supercargo Dorino. It's got a little bit of a flutter. You got the O on both ends.
What would their nickname be, though? Because you're not going to say supercargo every time.
Super.
Not quite.
Soups.
Almost, but not quite.
What happens to Supercargo?
He gets knocked out.
Okay, and keep in mind, this is a big, large man. Okay, so this isn't, I won't say any names in here. It's not a small person. This. Well, I can't say this is Izzo because then that's like
No, it's fine. It's okay.
I'm judging you.
I'm
By whom? All right, pretty much all of the vets, and then essentially all hell breaks loose. One of certainly the more important characters here is going to be the vet doctor. The vet doctor is the one who certainly kind of starts to talk to Tim and basically try to get him to see things a little bit differently. That whole play the game. Any irony about the vet doctor being with this whole group of people? Yeah, he seems very sophisticated, intellectual, lucid, and all that kind of stuff. Kind of, similar to like a Harding kind of character that seems like intellectual, knows what's going on and whatnot. Part of that irony, I think, is, and you think about this geographically, you have an asylum where, you have the vet doctor who seems to be smart, and what's right down the road? You got a college. Where, what are they doing at the college? in theory, we're hoping, and Tim would agree that he is learning, but really what's happening at the college, they're blinding them. So that there are not that they're going to be stupid or anything, but there's more naiveness that would be happening. The intelligent, smart vet doctor from World War I who can diagnose things, and even diagnoses things with Norton that he says, it took his doctors a while to figure out, is stuck in the asylum. Who goes to the college? Cast down your bucket. Get punched in the face. Those who are willing to submit. Who doesn't go to the college, who goes to the asylum, who gets exported out of the asylum and gets sent someplace else to Washington, D.C., the vet doctor, those who don't submit, those who know, those who kind of understand what is really going on. So there's certainly a split that would be going on where you would anticipate, those who are smart, those who are intellectual would be going there. Those, not that you have to, naive is going to put you in the sane asylum, but that there would be kind of a reversal that would be taking place. Supercargo. Where's our psychology people? Supercargo. Superego. What's the superego? Way to call cut out. You have the superego, you have the ego, and you have the id. The id are your instincts. The ego has been kind of shaped, by experience. The superego are social and moral values. So in the golden day, what happens to those social and moral values? They are getting overthrown. Whose social values are being distorted or changed? Tim is in this experience with the vet doctor where all of those things are being knocked out and a new understanding is kind of starting to take place. It's a golden day. What happens in the golden day? New light, new beginning, new start, things kind of start to change, and that's where things kind of start to change.
That's crazy. And I thought it was a
Oh, that's like a monologue.
I mean, like, I feel like all these words are
That's not me. Go to the bar in order to get new. You're not.
my group presentation.
When, no.
I was gonna say, I was like,